Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure. Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.
A very good morning to you and welcome to Global Morning. Like we do say, thank God it's a Friday, and it's the Friday edition of a Global Morning, which will automatically take us through to the weekend. Of course, we all look forward to Saturdays and Sundays, especially Sundays when we get to eat a lot of mede. But my name is Godwin Sunday, and I'm not doing this alone. I'm doing this with my colleague, Jumai Manson. Good morning, Jumai.
Good morning. How are you doing today, Godwin? Well done. When you said mede, what do you mean?
Okay, mede simply means
different kind of stuff. Don't think I'm full Nigerian.
Okay, I thought you don't know what mede is.
Very funny. Of course I do. Of course, it's all about the different varieties that happens on a Sunday. We talk about the Sunday rice and all of that, right?
Yeah.
All right, like Godwin mentioned, TGIF, thank God it's Friday, and it's a beautiful time. And it's great to be in the studio, and of course, this is the Tag Team Friday. I am Jumai Manson, and we are gracing your television set this day. We have various news, right, making rounds when it comes to the new pope that has emerged from the United States of America. Amazing story there, yeah, right?
Yeah, amazing story it is. Because, we've seen first American pope emerge. And as we begin to talk, we'll see Donald Trump's reaction to this also, because he was so excited.
Yes, he was.
Many people across the various platforms have called Donald Trump right now a prophetic president. Because he came out with an image of him was circulating and making the rounds where he was putting on the Pope's regalia. And
yes, but at the same time, he came out and he said there was a conference that happened, and he said that he doesn't even know. I'm sure it's one of the AI. Maybe do you think it was like a hint telling us that the Pope is coming from? It's going to be an American or something. Maybe it was a hint, but he came out and he said that was false. He had nothing to do with it. Coming out with the regalia of the Pope, like, he has nothing to do with it. Of course, Donald Trump. You know how well circumstances surrounding anything that comes out from his mouth, but at the same time, it's fine. It's a good thing. The Catholic Church, I'm sure they're all happy. Everyone is excited, sending words of prayers and all of that. So,
well, Pope Leo the 14th is a man people don't really know about. People doesn't talk much, but all we know is that he was with the last Pope Francis and was appointed by Pope Francis in the year 2023. He has been on the low. Is one person that doesn't like to be on the spotlight. So I was busy watching for the smoke in the conclave, because things kept coming black. All of a sudden we all saw white, and it was an exciting moment for a lot of people. The whole of St. Peter's Square was thrown into wide excitement because people were just like, wow, he has emerged. And it kept us in suspense for a while, trying to find out who is this guy, who is this person that has emerged as a pope. And until we saw him coming out to the balcony of St. Peter's Square, it was an interesting outing. But we'll take a look at that video probably after this break. Let's even see how he emerged and he came out and was waving at the crowd. People were just excited. And the smiles all over my face. I was like, although some of us are not of the Catholic
we're not.
denomination, but then the excitement, you could feel it even on your seat in the house. You could it was contagious.
Yes, it is.
You could feel the excitement. People were happy, and one would have thought that since he's an American, he would have been. He has an American background. he should have spoken in English, but then he still spoke in Italian.
Yes, he did.
Because that was the fear for a lot of people, that you won't be able to speak other language. But of course, when you become a cardinal, I think there's a way they do it where you have to speak more than one language.
Yes, very true.
So you speak Spanish, you speak Italian.
To carry
and
everyone along, to know that we're all in this together. And the truth in all of this, the truth is, it just shows that we are all one under that umbrella of Christ. It doesn't matter whether you're Catholic, you're Protestant, or from other, the Adventist. It doesn't matter. We're all under the same umbrella. Just like the other religion, when it comes to our Muslim faithful, it's God. So we are all together. We should be united. It doesn't matter. So we should be happy for each other when something great happens in one's religion.
All right, so let's go for this quick break. And when we come back, we'll come back with the video of the Pope waving and for his first wave as a Pope. That's Pope Leo XIV. I will also get to see Donald Trump's reaction. And of course, this Donald Trump reaction has reflected a lot of Americans' position, even on the new Pope. Please stay with us as Global Morning. It's just starting.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
All right, so welcome back. Before we went for that break, we told you that we're going to bring you a video of the Pope as he makes his first public appearance, even at St. Peter's Square yesterday. But let's take a look at the video.
What greater honor could there be? And we were a little bit surprised, but very happy. It's just a great, absolutely great honor.
Are you planning to meet the Pope in the near future?
Mr. President,
Have you met him before?
Absolutely great honor.
Are you planning to meet the Pope in the near future?
Mr. President,
Have you met him before?
They've already called.
They've already called. When is that? Do you have a time in mind?
They have already spoken to us, and we'll see what happens. But again, to have the Pope from the United States of America, that's a great honor. That's a great honor.
Sir, have you met him before? Sir, have you?
Watching, and they said he's from America. I said that's great.
Are you going to?
Well, we sincerely apologize for that mix-up, but then we were able to communicate the message to you by showing you the Pope's first appearance, even in St. Peter's Square yesterday, and you can see the wide excitement by Christian faithfuls across the world. And of course, congratulatory messages have been pouring in since yesterday, speaking about the various countries across the world, even our very own country also. When it was, recall when the Pope, we lost Pope Francis, even Tinubu was sent his condolence to the Catholic faithful and saying this. But if we try to look at this old Pope thing critically, I think going by my own analysis, I think this is the first time we are having this. It's this quick, So this more of a situation where one would say God is in a hurry to give the Catholic a new bishop, and then a new pope as it stands right now. But it's an interesting one. Donald Trump did not even hide his excitement, and Americans, since yesterday, Americans have been so excited. People from Florida, California, they are all speaking one voice that God has turned his eye to America. It's an interesting one. But then, speaking of interesting conversations, Gospel Akpabio yesterday made a very, very pronounced remark where he said that he's not stepping down. based on the false allegation by Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan on him. That he's not going to be one of those persons that incident happened and you go, okay, there's an illustration he gave that in America, because of the black skin, a lot of black folks have suffered unforetold situation by sending them to jail, and they now realize after 35 years that they're not supposed to be thrown to jail. And he is not going to be that person that's going to now step down. They will now go into investigation and find out that Godswill Akpabio has already stepped down and say, yeah, Godswill Akpabio should not have said that we wrongly treated him. It was the first
he wasn't guilty.
He said he was. I wish that video is ready so we can just take a look at that video where the Godswill Akpabio was able to express his concerns on, and NGOs are telling him and civil society organizations asking him to step aside so that we can do a thorough investigation. But let's take a look at that video.
In the social media, who like to tweet, Nigeria has an unregulated social media system. So they let them wallow in it and then take a disadvantaged situation and propagate all sorts of falsehood and all sorts of narratives. Some of them in the social media were not even born when Edwin Clark was very active in service. And so they couldn't have known some of the things he did that we are remembering today. And yet, when somebody makes a statement that the labors of our heroes past are in vain, I beg to disagree. Let our brother Peter Obi show leadership like Edwin Clark did by resolving first the crisis in the Labour Party. For a man who wants to run Nigeria, you have one of the smallest parties in Nigeria, and you cannot even resolve the crisis in that Labour Party. Is it the crisis of Boko Haram that you will come and resolve in Nigeria? I would like us to be known for what we did when we had the opportunities.
Welcome back. With quite an interesting voice coming from the Nigerian Senate President. But then again, more exciting the weekend is the issue around a young 18-year-old boy that impregnated 10 beautiful maidens.
Are you kidding me?
So what else do you want me to say? He went to learn a trade and he went to acquire skills and he was able to deliver his manifesto. And it's a campaign promise.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you drove him from that place to his village. He was able to also deliver another campaign manifesto.
To me, that's a very sad read for me. When I read that, it's really, really sad. An 18-year-old impregnates 10 girls in the space of 5 months. And then, of course, his boss's daughter is among those girls that he impregnated.
That guy, we should be calling him Odogu.
He is an Odogu. But the truth is, and someone asked, what did he say to them that lured those girls to, to actually accept that particular intimacy that happened between them? He said, all he said was, I love you and I'll marry you.
Oh.
I love you and I'll marry you was just the meal ticket for him to sleep with those girls. But the truth of the matter is, I think we have a lot to do when it comes to, educating our teenagers on sex education. We need to educate them. I think we have a lot to do. Well, he's 18. For goodness sake, he's supposed to be out of school, whether secondary school, going to tertiary institution, and he's learning a trade. That means he wasn't in secondary school. That means he was learning the trade, or maybe he dropped out at some point. But I think the role of parents, we have a lot of things. Our mothers have a lot to do to teach their female children self-worth. You need to understand self-worth at a very young age to know that you must not compromise as a girl. You must know that dignity and pride should be part of it. You shouldn't be prideful, yes. But at the same time, mothers should teach their children how to carry themselves and not allow, this is really sad. It's really, really sad, especially, some of, well, I don't want to judge, but at the same time, mothers have a lot of role to play. I know fathers do also, teaching your boys how self-control, teaching them, self-control is very important, especially the teenagers, self-control, their systems are going haywire. But as a father, as a parent, you must teach your children, both of them, self-control, sex education, self-worth, value, dignity. All of these things are very important for you to comport yourself in a manner that society will be proud of. Not just society, but your home front. So when you read things like this, it just saddens one. So in a year, that guy going to have, in 1 year, just space of a year, he's going to have like 10 children. Are you kidding me?
If there is no twins among them.
Or
we can't rule out that
or quarterplets.
We can't rule out that possibility.
Exactly, but it's just unfortunate that when you see things that you wonder what is going on. When we were 18, were we thinking about things like this during our day? We're not. We're thinking about, we had crush on like D1 has always been my crush right from in secondary school. I don't hide it forever. Oh gosh, and then, but the truth is. Most people didn't engage in such. I don't know what our kids are learning these days. I don't know, role models. It's a lot.
Juma, if you were talking about all of this, I hope you've not seen the JAM release result yet. Hope you've not been following the JAM conversation, because when you hear that 1+ million students failed JAM, are you wondering where are we going to from here? We were talking about this yesterday, and a woman came with her son to have a haircut, and we're talking about the failure in JAM. And she was at the forefront of saying children don't read. These people are very stubborn. And the son told the mother, "Mommy, I want to put a zigzag on my head. Should I put it?" And the mother said, "Go ahead and put the zigzag." And we told the mother, no. Put a straight line if he wants his hair to be fine.
Why zigzag?
Put a straight line on his head. Probably why zigzag? Because for us, zigzag might just be another form of gangsterism, and by so doing, you are introducing this boy to a young level of gangsterism. Or you want him to be a gangster. If he start carrying firearms everywhere, that's what we're telling the mother. If he start carrying firearms, can you even afford to? But he said, "I will buy the gun for him now."
Really?
And now we were wondering, where is the society going to? Where you see mothers that can stick their neck out to make their children happy at the detriment of the society.
It's unfortunate.
We've seen situations where you punish a child even by a disciplinary action, and you see parents call the police to pick you up. We now begin to ask, when did we degenerate to this point where if you give birth to a child, the child is no longer a community
responsibility?
So when we miss it at that point, we begin to blame the government, blame everything on everybody. But then we are building a society of this. If this young boy have not been following a particular trend where he has seen it happening, even some of the things that we produce on our Nollywood movie, I think it's time we begin to review some of our movies and what we send out there.
And I mentioned role model. No, still talking about JAM and the massive failure that happened. A friend of mine called me and told me that in their center in Jos, an incident happened that the network went off, came back, went off, and some of the children in that particular center couldn't proceed with their examination.
And there was no cancellation for that day to
and there was and then when they called out and said this is what is happening at their center, they said they have no say in it. They have to come to Abuja, and these kids practically wept. So there are a lot of things surrounding the failure of JAM. A lot of children were actually out of service when it comes to issues like this. A lot of children did not have the opportunity to finish up. A lot of people, data and all of these things, some of the centers were not well coordinated, but I think they really need to have a review when it comes to JAM. A lot of kids went through a lot in that examination process, which didn't really go down with most parents, and it didn't go down with the children because basically it wasn't their fault. But I think there should be a review when it comes to the last JAM examination that happened. I hope the necessary authorities are listening, and I hope they review these results. And for those that had issues in their centers, they should be given another opportunity, really, and that's the truth.
But are we even ready for the CBT? That's the first question we need to start asking. Are we ready for computer-based tests?
Exactly.
Because in some part of the country, we still know, we know that some part of the country, as at yesterday, Buhari have not seen light for 4 days. Epilepsy power supply in most part of the country.
Very true.
Now, people within the Federal Capital Territory can say they enjoy a bit of supply.
And don't forget that
there's
we're
no
on this
uniformity.
band A, band B, band C, and don't even go there. I know you're going to say that, but the truth of the matter is we're not sure if we're ready for the CBT. It's very important that we should look into it. And we should understand that this particular, for children who have read, they have given their, I know what it is to read for an exam. Godwin, I'm telling you, because if you go back to, from back in the day where I'm coming from, I read for my exams. I read. I wasn't eating. I was reading. And I thank God for my results. And there's some kids like that who do not allow any distractions, who go all out to ensure that they are done with this and they want to proceed to the next level. They want just to be done. And to see this sort of thing that happens at the long run, something that you do not foresee. And then for individuals who you look up to, higher authorities, to come and quickly intercede on this matter, and you tell them, well, you have to wait another year. Do you know it's very traumatic? It is very traumatizing for those children, and God forbid. And we know we hear of cases that kids are, this can actually take a child off balance. But I think the needful needs to be done when it comes to JAM. The massive failure, there should be a review. And I think JAM should quickly look into it, because a lot of things played a role in this, I will say, because some of the CBT centers, nothing to write home about. There were no data. It was just going off and coming back on, coming back. I think all those things should be put in consideration. And I think JAM should quickly look into it, because so that we won't cause, another generation of issues coming up and popping up. And please, they should look into it. It's
Alternatively, they should keep paper by the side.
Exactly.
So shading. People can still go back to the shading.
We didn't go back. It
we
wasn't stressful during our day.
You have your HB pencil, so you can still shade.
Exactly.
All of that.
But the needful needs to be done. I think JAM needs to review this. Is very important. Because you go on social media, Facebook. I know this family. They're my family friends and all of that. And they've written Facebook, someone should please look into this, because it's very traumatizing for the daughter and, of course, her friends. So we should look into it. And JAM should quickly do something about it. It's very important.
Very, very important. Well, we'll go for this break. And when we come back, we'll be going straight to the various national dailies making the rounds for this morning. Please stay with us as we'll come back just in a minute.
Right, you're welcome back. And if you're just tuning in, this is Global Morning on Global Television. And at about this time is a newspaper review segment. And we're going to be starting with the first paper of the day. It's the Punch newspaper, giving you some very punchy headlines. And above the nameplate of the Punch newspaper, it says here, Tinubu, Trump, world leader congratulates American Pope. And you can find that read on page 11 of the Punch newspaper. Nigeria taps additional $215 million World Bank loan for palliatives. And you can find that read on page 10 of the Punch newspaper. And then it says 2027, Al-Makura Masari mobilize CPC block for Tinubu. And that same read on page 10. Of course, you see a picture story there of the president of Nigeria, another president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And close to the nameplate of the Punch, it says DHQ links foreign herdsmen to Benue Plateau killings. And you can find that read on page 7. And of course, that's this picture of the Chief of Defense Staff, not the person, than General Christopher Musa there. And here, the Star Story there says, refitting and repainting newly acquired presidential jet flown to South Africa. And you can find that read on page 2. And the writer that says, Tinubu using leased aircraft for foreign local travels. And then it says, LP crisis, Akpabio taunts Obi as OT demands Abure's arrest. And you can find that read on page 7 and 10 of the Punch newspaper. Wigwe U.S. helicopter firm may face criminal charges. And you can find that read on page 19. It says, marketers warn federal government against hasty fuel import ban. And that read is on page 20. UK police recover Nigerian teenager's corpse inside lake. Unfortunate incident there. You can find that read on page 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. LP vows to defect APC in Lagos local government poll. And you can find that read on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. And the story that really catches my eye when it comes to newly acquired presidential jet flown to South Africa, Tinubu using leased aircraft for foreign local travels. Godwin, what will you say about that now?
Well, it's an interesting one, because we don't know where we stand right now as a country.
We do not. We do not. We do not. And then, of course, the part that, we watched the video about Akpabio, what he said about Peter Obi here. And he says, Akpabio taunts Obi as OT demands Abure's address. Of course, we saw that he was actually taunting him at that point, when it comes to the crisis, the Labour Party, and then talking about what is going on with Akpabio and, of course, Natasha and all of that, not to interfere. Basically, that's where the taunt is coming from. But at the same time, hope all of this is nipped in the bud. I always say we have bigger and more pressing issues to deal with than all of these political brouhaha. So, of course, that's all of the stories making round in the Punch newspaper. Please go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast with most of the issues making round. And Godwin will be running us through the next paper.
All right, next paper is the Guardian newspaper, and just below the nameplate here we have Senate passes tax reform bills, meet reps for final draft. You can find that read on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. I will not step down for false allegations, says embattled Akpabio. You can find that read on page 3 of the paper. Usman-led LP committee suspends Abure Farouk for 6 months. The Star Story here says Anambra Abga, Obi's Kingsmen endorsed Tinubu for second term. Watch all of that video yesterday. It was quite an interesting one. But we have a picture here of the Pope Leo, hopeful for building bridges with dialogue in turbulent world. You find that story on page 6 also of the Guardian newspaper. Now it comes with a picture of President Tinubu commissioned quite a lot of projects yesterday at Anambra. I don't know how they gave him a title yesterday also in Anambra. He got an Igbo title. Okay. But I don't know if you are permitted to start calling him by that title yet, because we are still trying to get the spokesperson to know if he can be addressed that way. Where you put chief, you now call him DK or what. I've forgotten the other title that he was given. But he was given an Igbo chief, the red cap yesterday. And of course, that is a good one, and that's also triggered Professor Soludo to also, at that point, we don't know when the man moved from just talking to start saying that Abga we begin to endorse President Tinubu for second term, that Abga will support him Abga will, of course, rally around him, and as it stands right now, it's like the only president that Abga know, and it's because they are all in the progressives, and progressive have spoken. So Professor Soludo was just talking yesterday, and I was wondering, was it due to excitement, or could this be as a result of the politics or the election that is by the corner, in order to further destabilize the All Progressive Congress and show that he is in alignment with the president?
He's loyal.
There are whispers that Soludo also who want to decamp to the All Progressive Congress, but it's unfounded though, because we don't yet have the facts. There are still whispers in the air. But then this is how far we can go with that paper. Jumai will take us through the next paper.
All right, now I'm looking at the next paper. It's the Daily Times, and above the nameplate it says, "Behold, the new Pontiff Pope Leo the 14th, year-old American," and here it says below the nameplate, "State visit Tinubu hails Anambra progress, pledges deeper Fed support." And below all of that, here it says, "Senate passes 2 remaining tax reform bills." And you can find that read on page 2, and the writer said, "Set up reconciliation committee." And the next it says, "Insecurity, Middle Belt Group raises alarm, alleges ethnic cleansing." And you can find that read on page 10. Nigeria's security and political economy, and you can find that read on page 5. And here it says, "Price hike, multi-choice loses suit against FCCPC." And basically that is it on the Daily Times. Go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast. And then Godwin, the next paper.
Nigerian Tribune, Senate passes 2 remaining tax reform bills to go into conference with reps. Security Summit, refrain from needless comments, Senate cautions Defense Minister. Awo's 38th Memorial Anniversary and Patronal Service holds today in Ikene. Awo's 38. Of course, people from Ikene will know what Awo is.
Why would you say people from Ikene? What's our problem?
It is Ikene now. Ikene people. I don't.
Is it Ikene? I'm so pronouncing it wrong. It's Okene.
I saw Ikene here, so I don't know. That's what I'm reading Ikene.
You're just bullying people from Kogi State. Be careful. We'll come for you.
Let's go to the star story here. It says foreign for Juma will make me lose count on this now. I don't know which one I've jumped now. But it's fine.
And this has nothing to do with the people of Okene. Okene people are different from Okene. So please be careful.
Okay.
We'll come for you, Godwin.
Foreign headers behind attacks on communities, DHQ. UTME 2025 results consistent with 12-year trend jam. Wow, that's quite interesting. How Oshun attained 7th position in national examination rating at Deleke. Tariff hike, Nigerians internet users decline, NCC report. Reps invite finance minister, CBN governors, orders over non-payment of contractors since 2024. Soludo says APGA has adopted Tinubu for 2027 as president defends economic reforms. Tinubu seeks confirmation of nominees for regional commissions. It comes with a rider that says Adetumbi to chair Southwest, Unwochi to chair South-South. We'll see how that plays out in the coming days. 2027, defunct CPC chieftains, Abbas, Niger Castina governors, Al-Makura, others pledge loyalty to Tinubu. Pope Leo XIV era begins. Our Robert Francis provokes first American Pope emerge. You can find all of that read on the Tribune newspaper this morning to also keep yourself abreast on what's going on around the country and by extension around the world. But you can do interesting stories to read here in the Tribune, Jumai. Quite a lot of interesting story. Like we've said before, about the jam, and you are capturing the jam here again. That it's a 12-year trend that's been coming. Was it 12-year trend of negativity or the 12-year trend of positivity? All of that really you can find on the Nation Tribune too. Know what the trend has been so far. Up next is the Nation's newspaper, and Juma will be running us through.
All right, the Nation newspaper, and above the nameplate it says, "World leaders hail Pope Leo the 14th." And it says you can find that news on page 4 and 5. American gets Cardinals nod on day 2. And here it says no recognition for feuding Abure Inadi Usman. Others say INEC. And you can find that on page 4. And here it says Kanu's broadcast lead to killing of Gulak. Others witness tells court. And you can still find that read on page 4. And the Star story there says, multi-choice ladies bid to stop FCC probe of DSTV, GoTV subscription hike. And you can find that read on page 31. And here it says, Tinubu, we are wrestling down economic monsters. And the writer there says, APGA backs president for second term. President promises secured erosion-free South East. And basically that is all stories. And it says statisticians, General Lords, Lagos Data Management Architecture. And you find that read on page 6 of the Nation newspaper. And looking closely at this, we've already read most of the stories on the Nation's paper. We've spoken about Solido endorsing Tinubu, APGA, the presidential backing of Solido to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And of course, world leaders hail Pope Leo the 14th. I'm glad everyone is in sync in hailing him and giving him that encouragement, support, because he needs a lot of support to carry everyone along. Pope Francis, may his soul rest in peace, has set a pace. He was loved by everyone all around the world, so I'm sure he's going to follow in his footsteps and do much more. And basically, that's all the feeds on the Nation newspaper. Please go out and get yourself a copy and be well informed when it comes to issues making round. And over to you.
When you mentioned President Tinubu, you're forgetting to add DK Simba 1. That's a new title for the president. Don't just call him Asiwaju.
Is it out?
Is it DK Simba?
Asiwaju.
The Asiwaju, DK Simba. Then you now go to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Oh, really?
These titles need to just keep coming in.
Okay.
Right, so let's move on to the Telegram newspaper this morning. Quite a lot of read on that paper. Above the nameplate, we have in business, DMO confirms FGE has settled $3.4 billion IMF COVID-19 loan. All right, we have a report. Inflation, tight monetary policy strengthens SMEs operations. That's still on business side of the New Telegraph. Then below the name, please, here we have Anambra Tinubu pledges to tackle erosion, reactivate gas plan. You can find out that read on page 3 of the Telegraph. Senate passes all tax reform bills. You can find that read on page 2. Suspension by Bure laughable LP reps. China, Taiwan indulging in separatist activities. You want to know what that is all about? Of course, you can find all of that read on page 28 of the New Telegraph. The Star story here says killings. It comes with a kicker that says killings. NBF backs T.Y. Danjuma's call for self-defense, insists on state police. You can find that read on page 3 of the paper. Of course, all national dailies this morning are capturing the picture of Pope Leo. When he was coming out from the other side of the divide, imagine as the Pope coming to the Bank Holy at St. Peter's, which we've showed you that video prior to this time. But all national dailies are capturing because it's making the rounds around the world. Reps summon France, budget minister, CBN governor over debts owed contractors since 2024. Well, we'll see how far that plays out. 2027, DICO Almakura, Masari, Mawa, others back Tinubu. This politics, is it not too early, one will ask. Then you can go out there and find out why there are reasons for backing DK Simba, Siwaju, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, even at this point. Reports Robert Prevost, the first U.S. Pope, takes Papa's name, Leo XIV. State Assembly crisis, Governor Alia Lawal shuns rep summons. Infection found in chicken can drive colon cancer away, studies. Infection found in chicken can drive colon cancers away. I'll take that one more time because I know Juma didn't pay attention to that.
I heard what you said.
Infection found in chicken can drive colon cancer away, studies. Well, Juma, I think it's time to start eating more chicken.
Did you hear what infection
found in chicken can drive?
Can drive. So you want to eat chickens? Chicken that
no,
infected?
I don't know. This study.
People will just be coming up with different studies.
Well, it's a study. We can't. At this point, we can't even approve or disprove the studies. The study, we'll still look into it. You know, we've heard a lot of things around. Just recently, the Pastor Chris made a comment about salt and sodium, and it was an interesting conversation that sparked wildfire across all social media platforms. And of course, people have come out to say that Pastor Chris, at his age, should definitely not be eating a lot of salt. Of course, salt contained. The Ministry of Health also came out yesterday to speak
of course, on salt.
about the salt.
Even before now, we've heard stories about eating too much salt. It's really, really bad. And some people have the habit of sprinkling salt when the food is ready. It's dangerous. It's wrong.
But you also saw that we used salt to bath when we wanted to kill Ebola.
There was,
I don't know if you recall.
I remember.
We recall when
but a lot of people lost their lives.
Due to the salt?
Yes, some people drank it. It was not concentrated. Someone that had high BP or something. A lot of stories surrounding that.
Well, I don't want to say I drank or I did not drink. Let's leave that one for another day. But it was an interesting time, though.
It was. People were scared.
You hear that salt could cure a lot of things.
People were buying salt.
We now metamorphose from salt to bitter cola.
Exactly. And then some people will wait and they tell you there's a particular time that you have to take your bath. At about, is it 4 a.m. or 3 a.m.? A lot of stories. A lot of people did a lot of things, but please, I'm not going to come out like Godwin. No comment. No comment.
Juma, what you are afraid of commenting on? Did you or did you know you salt?
I say no comment.
Well,
no, everybody wants to go to heaven.
It might be a spiritual cleansing. We can't tell because salt that period it became quite expensive.
What are you saying? A lot of the part was when you have to wake up at about 2:30 or is it 3 a.m. to quickly take your bath. That's when it will work. Oh God, Nigeria!
What a spiritual cleansing it was.
What it was.
A time of cleansing of the earth.
People, you know, it's so bad. Do you know what it is to take on salt that is put in water, very little water, and then you put so many and you have to drink that? People that were hypertensive, oh goodness gracious.
But one way or the other, their faith took them somewhere. At least most people where Ebola was averted according to what they said with the salt.
No comment.
I don't know about that.
No comment. No comment.
But this study that I've shown again about chicken, you go out there and get yourself a copy of the New Telegraph to understand what the chicken is all about and how the chicken can drive the colon cancer away. Because right now I'm contemplating. Of course, we are taking a read.
You're contemplating what?
I'm contemplating on some of the content of the paper right now.
Okay. So at this point we have to wrap it up, and then of course that's the end of the newspaper review segment. Just go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast on so many of the issues making round on the daily newspaper. Just get yourself a copy. And at this point, up next is the AM News. Do not go anywhere. It's Global Morning on Global Television. Stay tuned.
is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Jumai Manson. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. You can download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. Now the news in full. President Bola Tinubu has arrived in Anambra State for a one-day working visit to inaugurate key development projects executed by the state government. Welcoming the president were several dignitaries, including Anambra State Governor Professor Chukwuma Soludo, his deputy Oyechukwu Ibezim, members of the House of Assembly, top dignitaries from the state, amongst others. Her arrival was met with warm reception, including a traditional dance performance by a cultural troupe. The House of Representatives has passed for second reading a bill for an act to establish the National Electoral Offence Commission. The sponsor of the bill, Honorable Adebayo Olusegun Balogun, explained that the proposed commission is intended to relieve the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, of responsibility of prosecuting electoral offenders. Queen Agaba has more on this story. We apologize, that news will be brought in our subsequent bulletin. The House of Representatives has resolved to urge the federal government to establish compressed natural gas conversion centers equitably across the country to give all Nigerians a sense of belonging. It also mandated the Committee on Gas Resources to ensure compliance and report back within 4 weeks. Uyi Agbomofuegbe takes us from there.
The resolution followed a motion by Honorable Aliyu Madaki, who noted that while the presidential compressed natural gas aims to lower living costs and reduce environmental pollution, the distribution of conversion centers has been uneven. He expressed concern that apart from Kaduna, no states in the northwest or northeast benefits from the initiative, despite the commercial viability of states like Kano, Borno, Katsina, and Sokoto. Some lawmakers also contributed to the debates, expressing worry over the exclusion of commercially viable states such as Kano, Borno, Katsina, and Sokoto from the initiative.
Aware that for the takeoff of the Presidential Compressed Gas Initiative, the federal government proposed to establish CNG combustion centers in some states, including Abia, Bayelsa, Cross River, and Ebonyi, with one center each, while Akwa Ibom has 5 centers, Delta 9 centers, Edo with 11 centers, Ekiti with 7 centers, Enugu and Kogi with 3 centers, FCT Abuja 3 centers, Kaduna with 10 centers, Para with 8 centers, and Lagos with 70 centers.
We are calling for the policy implementers to please vindicate this government. We know government has done their best, but let the policy makers consider Northeast. There is no single CNG center in the whole of Northeast sub-region.
But look at the entire northeast of this part of this country was completely ignored. And look at the 80% of the northwest corridor of this country was completely exempted. That is the corridors, not even the cities. The corridors where commuters will fly. And then the main aim of this initiative is to give relief to the Nigerian masses occasioned by the transitive hardship as a result of fuel subsidy.
The House of Representatives has also called on the federal government to collaborate with state governments to construct additional National Youth Service Corps orientation camps and expand existing ones to accommodate at least 5,000 corps members in every state of the Federation. The House also urged the Federal Ministry of Youth, in partnership with relevant stakeholders, to develop a clear framework for achieving the construction and expansion of these camps.
That some states lack orientation camps to accommodate and meet the increasing number of corps members deployed, while other states temporarily utilize secondary schools buildings to accommodate prospective corps members. disturbed by the current dilapidated state of permanent orientation camps in the country, which is causing dissatisfaction due to inadequate facilities, overstretching the existing facilities, leaving corps members with no options other than to be.
This resolution followed the adoption of a motion moved by Honorable Garba Muhammad Uyi Agmofwebe, reporting for Global TV News.
The Armed Forces of Nigeria says it has neutralized scores of terrorists, including one of their leaders known as Uwachi Eze, popularly referred to as Onu, who has been on the wanted list of the military. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Mukus Kenge, made this known while addressing journalists on the operational activities of the armed forces in Abuja. Defense correspondent Kikelongo Okere reports. We apologize. That news will be brought in our subsequent bulletin. Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State has tasked the 2025 Amir Hajj Committee to ensure the general well-being of state pilgrims throughout the pilgrimage. The 2025 Zamfara State Amir Hajj Committee was inaugurated at the Council Chamber of the Government House in Gusau, and Alhaji Garba Mohammed Tambari, the Emir of Maradin, will serve as its chairman. Kabir Hassan tells us more.
While inaugurating the committee, Zamfara State Governor Dauda Lawal says the team is expected to ensure a successful Hajj operation and the welfare, safety and comfort of Zamfara State pilgrims.
As an administration, we recognize that facilitating a successful Hajj operation is not merely an administrative duty, but a spiritual obligation. The welfare, safety and comfort of our pilgrims must be the cornerstone of our efforts.
He urged the committee to maintain a strong working relationship with the Zamfara State Hajj Commission, relevant federal agencies and Saudi partners to ensure smooth coordination and real-time problem solving. Hassan Kabir reporting for Global TV.
Wife of the President, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has commissioned a 100-bed mother and child center in Awo Amama Eru East local government area of Imo State. Represented by the wife of Vice President Hajia Nana Shatima, the First Lady's visit is part of the federal government's drive to improve maternal and child health care under the Sustainable Development Goals program. Amarachi Ibe reports.
The First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, continues to champion the welfare of women and children across the country. In Imo State, her name now graces a new 100-bed mother and child center, built in Awam Mama under the SDG initiative. Representing the First Lady at the commissioning was Hajia Nana Shatima, wife of the Vice President, who emphasized the center's importance in addressing maternal and child health challenges in rural communities.
We must continue to emphasize the vital importance of maternal health care in building a healthier society. I therefore urge our women and members of this community to take this advantage of the services available at this mother and child center. I also charge you to take ownership of this center. It is for your benefits and the welfare of your children.
Speaking at the event, Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma says the naming of the center after the First Lady is a tribute to her tireless service to women and vulnerable groups nationwide. He added that the facility aligns with ongoing state-led health reforms, including the renovation of 305 primary health centers in collaboration with the World Bank, deployment of mobile clinics, and revitalization of general hospitals and teaching institutions across Imo State.
Our administration is deeply committed to reducing maternal and child mortality linked to inadequate facilities and healthcare assets. This new hospital directly supports that mission and expands the reach of modern healthcare in our state. Having personally visited the site ahead of this event, I can attest that this hospital was delivered to specification equipped with modern medical technology, and ready to serve.
The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, Princess Adejoke Olarope, explained that the project is one of the several initiatives being implemented across Nigeria under the Sustainable Development Goal 3, which focuses on good health and well-being.
And promises made by your reliable, responsible, and responsive President, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who believes that no woman should die or no child should die when giving birth. Women is vessel of life and should be protected and preserved.
With the commissioning of the Senator Oluremi Tinubu Mother and Child Center, Our Mama becomes a critical part of Imo's growing health infrastructure dedicated to safe motherhood and child survival. From Our Mama in Oru East Local Government Area, Amarachi Ibe, reporting for Global TV News.
Following 6 defections from its foe, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the House of Representatives has lost 3 of its former members to the All Progressive Congress, APC. The defecting lawmakers are Dabia Balarabe, representing Bakori Danja, constituency of Katsina State, Iliasu Abubakar, representing Basari Safana, Dan Musa constituency, Katsina Center State, and Yusuf Majagiri, representing Marsha Dutsi constituency of Katsina State. Kike Lomo Okere tells us more.
The lawmakers' defection was formally announced in a letter read on the floor of the House of Representatives by Speaker Abbas Tajuddin during plenary. In the letter, the lawmakers cited lingering unresolved crisis within PDP, which they claim had made it impossible for them to remain in the party. They described the situation as a chronic, incurable crisis that continues to plague the party.
To formally inform you and the Honorable House of my decision to resign my membership of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and declare for the All Progressive Congress, APC. The primary reason for my defection is the high level of chronic crisis without cure and internal divisions currently plaguing the PDP.
Notably, the governor of Katsina State, along with several dignitaries from the state, was present in the chamber to witness the defection. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
The House of Representatives has directed the Committee on Healthcare Services to work with the Federal Ministry of Health and other relevant agencies to create a framework for subsidizing cancer treatments and drugs in Nigeria. They also called for more treatment centers, additional radiation therapy machines, and free nationwide cancer screening programs. In another development, Zamfara State Government has reaffirmed its commitment to supporting programs that promote family planning among women as a means to improve maternal health and overall well-being. Presenting the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Nafisa Maradun, the Executive Secretary of the Hospital Services Management Board, Mustafa Marafa, gave this assurance during the commencement of a specialized training for healthcare providers on the use of hormonal devices in Gusau. The state capital, Ogochukwu Mobana, has details.
This training brought together nurses and midwives from 25 healthcare facilities across Zamfara State. Representing the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Nafisa Maradun, the Executive Secretary of the Hospital Service Management Board, Mustafa Marafa, says the training is designed to equip frontline healthcare workers with both the practical skills and data management knowledge needed to scale up family planning services in the state.
There are very big issues that has to do with family planning in our population. And I think this NGO is ready to provide, especially the new hormonal IUD that is maybe new and uncommon and is very safe for usage. Number two,
the coordinator of family planning at the Zamfara State Primary Healthcare Board, Shafatu Abubakar, stressed the need for continuous awareness campaigns to dispel myths and encourage more women to embrace the hormonal IUD method as a safe and effective family planning option.
Safety of hormonal IUD is I think, is 100% safe, and it's even easier to use for all women, women of childbearing age, because it even prevents women from cervical cancer and other cancer that affecting women. So I think it's almost 100% safe.
The Executive Director of the Health for Life and Development Foundation, Dr. Abubakar Danladi, highlighting that the training is part of a broader initiative to increase the acceptance and uptake of hormonal IUDs in Zamfara. He noted that participants are expected to replicate the training in their respective health facilities with supervision and follow-up over a 6-week period.
So we are building the capacity of the family planning provider towards achieving increased uptake of this family planning method called hormonal IUD. To achieve one is to ensure that this group of participants are well equipped to provide quality family planning services for the hormonal IUD. And the second one is that they are also equipped to conduct training to colleagues at the facility level.
The training is expected to significantly enhance the quality of reproductive health services in Zamfara, contributing to reducing maternal mortality and improved health outcomes for women. August Kumobno reporting for Global Television News.
The Court of Appeal sitting in Akure, Ondo State Capital, has dismissed the appeal filed by the candidate of the New Nigerian People's Party, NNPP, in November 16, 2024 governorship election in Ondo State. Olugbenga Edema against the victory of Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa and his deputy, Dr. Olayide Adelami. In a judgment delivered by the appeal court, Justice Oyebisi Omoleye affirmed the judgment of the Federal High Court. You're watching the live broadcast of AM News. When AM News returns 2025 on the 20 AFCON Flying Eagles arrive Ismailia for quarter-final showdown. Details coming shortly, plus business and forest stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is AM News on Global Television. Thank you for staying with us. On our business news now, the Nigerian Senate has approved 2 out of 4 key tax reform bills, marking a major step in the ongoing overhaul of Nigeria's tax administration system. The bills passed include one to repeal the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act and another to establish both the Joint Revenue Board and the Nigerian Revenue Service. Ramsey Enoch Agbo has details.
The tax reform bills were adopted after detailed review and a third reading on the Senate floor. Presenting the committee report, Senator Sani Musa, chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, emphasized that the tax reform legislation is vital for President Bola Tinubu's vision of growing Nigeria's economy to $1 trillion by 2030. He stressed the importance of creating laws that are practical, beneficial, and enduring beyond the current administration, reflecting the true needs of Nigerians.
Recommendation on the tax administration bill, which is one of the areas that have generated a lot of controversies. We have addressed that, and what we did with that recommendation is that the federal government will be taking 10% from the VAT distribution. We did not amend the present VAT structure. We left it at 7.5% instead of increasing it as was recommended. So in that structure, we said 10% of that collection will be for the federal government, 55% of that collection will go to the state government and the Federal Capital Territory, and 35% to the local governments.
President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, expressed confidence that the reforms will improve governance and transform the way taxes are collected and distributed nationwide.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to repeal the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act number 13, 2007, and then enact the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Act to establish the Nigeria Revenue Service, charged with the powers of assessment, collection of, and accounting for revenue accruing to the government of the Federation and for related matters 2025, third reading taken and passed.
Akpabio assured that the remaining two bills would be concluded the next day, even if it requires extended sitting hours. Ramsey Enoch Agbo reporting for Global TV News.
Investors in the Nigerian stock market has raked in over 300 billion naira gain amid increased buying interest. This comes as Nigerian Exchange Limited market capitalization rose by 307 billion naira, or 0.45%, close to 68.412 trillion naira, compared with 68.105 trillion naira on Tuesday. Similarly, the All Share Index ASI also climbed by 488.73 points, or 0.45%, to settle at 108,849.83. U.S. President Donald Trump has removed the 25% tariff on UK steel and aluminium and immediately cuts the rate on most car exports from 27.5% to 10%. The lower car rate applies to the first 100,000 vehicles exported from the UK to the US each year. 101,000 were exported last year. In return, the UK government says it's removing the tariff on ethanol for US goods and agrees to reciprocal markets across on beef. On the foreign news now, Cardinal Robert Francis Prevett of the United States has been elected the 267th Pope and has stepped into the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica as the new leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics. He's now known as Pope Francis Leo XIV. Prevett, 69, from Chicago, Illinois, is the first ever Pope from the United States. In his first words as Pope, a visibly emotional Leo said to the crowd in St. Peter's Square, "Peace be with you all." The controversy over the status of Taiwan was the focus of a public enlightenment program organized by the Center for China Studies and Center for Contemporary China-Africa Research. Dr. Austin Maho, lecturer at the International Institute of Journalism, urged the Nigerian on factual and unbiased reporting on the status of Taiwan. Ramsey Enoch Agbo was there for Global TV.
Dr. Maho, while delivering a paper at the event, said Nigeria adheres to one China policy, which recognizes the People's Republic of China as the legitimate Chinese government. A principle, he noted, forms the basis of Nigeria's diplomatic relations with China. He said in January 2017, Nigeria, in adherence to the One China policy, relocated the Taiwan Trade Mission from Abuja to Lagos, urging the media to exercise caution in its reportage on stories that border on Taiwan in relation to China.
As a journalist, you are a news gatherer, but the purpose of this session is when next you interact with him, is to be able to ask him the appropriate question based on the information we are providing to you today. We cannot block you from covering your beat. But what I'm trying to say is that diplomacy is a specialized beat, and we should use appropriate language, and we should be able to ask appropriate questions when issues are in contention, especially as it has to do with relationship between two great powers, one Nigeria, one Asia.
The Director of Political Sector, Chinese Embassy in Nigeria, Zhu Shongo, in his speech noted that there is only one China in the world, with Taiwan as an inalienable part of its territory. He stated that the government of the People's Republic of China remains the only legitimate government representing all of China.
The Chinese government and the people uphold the One China principle, resolutely oppose any conspiracies and aimed at stability in China, splitting the country and the nation, and firmly reject any attempts to create two Chinas, one China, one Taiwan, or pursue Taiwan independence.
Professor Sherif Gali, head of Department of Political Science and International Relations, University of Abuja, said the trade volume between Nigeria and China has exceeded $20 billion, making Nigeria China's third largest African trade partner.
So it is on the basis of this that China-Nigeria's economic or bilateral trade has continued to skyrocket. At least the volume of trade exceeding 20 billion USD. And in March 2025, China exported worth of goods $2.15 billion and imported $157 million worth of goods from Nigeria.
Ramsey Enoch Agbo reporting for Global TV News.
Let us quickly go over to Uyagbomofuegbe's update on the foreign scene.
Senegalese lawmakers have begun debating whether to allow several former ministers face charges before a special court over accusations they embezzled funds meant for the country's fight against COVID-19. The country's National Assembly is largely controlled by President Bassirou Diomaye Faye's party, who was elected in March last year on a promise to change how the West African country is run compared to his predecessors. Faye has made the fight against corruption a policy priority, launching investigations into the administration of Macky Sall, who was president from 2012 for 12 years. Away from Africa, India and Pakistan have exchanged heavy artillery along their contested frontier after New Delhi launched deadly missile strikes on its arch rival in the worst violence between the nuclear-armed neighbors in 2 decades.
India has demonstrated considerable restraint in its response. However, it must be said that the Indian armed forces are fully prepared to respond to Pakistani misadventures, if any.
Meanwhile, the European Union has called on India and Pakistan to act immediately to de-escalate tensions after the most serious military confrontation between the nuclear-armed neighbors in 2 decades.
We do urge both sides to show restraint and take immediate steps towards de-escalation. The EU recalls the need for a negotiated, mutually agreed.
In sports stories now, Nigerians Flying Eagles have arrived at Somalia ahead of their quarter-final clash at the ongoing 2025 African Under-20 Cup of Nations. And that's it on Global TV News AM News. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using @Global TV NG. You can keep track of our Global TV on our app store on our Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Good morning. Global Morning continues shortly. Stay tuned.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
disbursing upkeep of 20,000 naira.
Know that you cannot talk about a healthy nation if you don't have means to produce your own in addition to importing.
The CG is the principal actor of this because it's within her jurisdiction. Minister is a supervisor.
That we must run in accordance with the Constitution of Cannes, where you have just a single time.
The human factor, you have the infrastructural factor, then you have the mechanical factors.
The Senate, with all due respect, they were so hasty in passing that judgment.
The statement I'm about to make is we're not even aware.
That is the future.
You have to be aware before you can begin to be prepared.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
disbursing upkeep of 20,000 naira.
Know that you cannot talk about a healthy nation if you don't have means to produce your own in addition to importing.
The CG is the principal actor of this because it's within her jurisdiction. Minister is a supervisor.
That we must run in accordance with the constitution of CAN, where you have just a single time.
The human factor, you have the infrastructural factor, then you have the mechanical factors.
The Senate, with all due respect, they were so hasty in passing that judgment.
The statement I'm about to make is we're not even aware.
That is the future.
You have to be aware before you can begin to be prepared.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is
Welcome back to Global Morning on Global Television this morning. I'm being joined by Adamu Bello. We're talking to us about some of the happenings, and especially when it has to do with the various endorsement that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has enjoyed so far from various elites across the country. But first, let me welcome you to the show, Adamu Bello. You're welcome to Global Television.
Thank you very much.
All right, so Adam, let's even start with that of Anambra State, where the Anambra State governor has said that ABGA are behind President Tinubu for a second term. MAWA, as well as other stakeholders within the Nigerian political space, have come out also to give their support and throw their weight behind President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for a second term, even though the president have not come out openly to say that he is going for a second term. But looking at all of this, what do you make of this developments?
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is one of the very few presidents, I think, that are purely Democrats. By purely Democrats, I mean he is one of the most, he is one of the, I think, the only three civilian presidents we have to defend. Erradua Goodluck Jonathan, who is an administration, being the first, then him being the second. Both Buhari and Obasanjo are military personnel. So you expect, and then Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is adduced to be a grassroots politician. He had started politics since the previous republic, being a parliamentarian. He has been a governor of Lagos. Of course, there is nothing surprising that he is mixing up governance with politics. And then his style of leadership, of course, as I said, is mixing up governance together with politics, trying to see that he has pleased and darling all, irrespective of political party. I can quote from the words of Senator Kawu Somela from Kanu, who won election in 2023 from the new Nigerian party, that's the NNPP, the Concourse NNPP. He was quoted to have been said, the reason why he left the NNPP for APC is because the president gave him attention, listened to him, and offered him all that he wanted for his people. And that the essence of politics is to see you've gotten for your people what they want. And that's why he said he had no option than to join the president's political party. And I'm very much sure it is almost the same thing. That's why we are seeing the bandwagon of the campees from East, which is very unusual, joining the APC. So I don't think it is something strange or new, especially knowing the background of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a true Democrat or a politician. So I don't think there is any. I could even see from yesterday that ABGA, as an opposition political party, is adopting him as their candidate in 2027. So we'll continue to see that. In my view, except if something happened, of course, his second term may not be any difficult for him. It won't be as difficult as the first time. Even his first time, if you could see, he was not much supported internally, but he had his way into the power. Look at the challenges, the bottleneck he was unable to unbuckled, the change of money, the challenges he faced during the primary election, amongst host of others. So that was when he wasn't even in power. Talk more of now that he is the president and control the machineries of state. So I don't think he's going to have difficulty or much difficulty. Of course, there must be difficulty. It won't be as much as what he
All right, so thank you so much, Bello, on that particular one. But then we've seen the likes of Marwa and Masari, and also the likes of very top political actors within the North giving their support to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his second term bid, and second term for even advising him to go for a re-election come 2027. But in all of this, the conversation has tended to be on one side, which is the side of the elite. It is becoming more of a government of the elite, for the elite, and by the elite. What do I mean in this regard? Most of the endorsement that President Bola Tinubu is getting right now are coming from top politicians and top politicians within the rank and file of the elitist mandate right now. Do you think at this point in time that this elite endorsement will have any form of reflection on the ballot box come 2027?
You see, let me make this clear.
amongst host of others, and the support they've given to Donald Trump. So elite has always been the center of democracy and politics, government, amongst others. Now, coming down to Nigeria, I always made this a case that whoever has elite consensus will become a president or a governor. What I mean by elite consensus is that once majority of the elite agrees to be behind a leader or behind someone that is in power or wants to cut away power, he will always go away with it very easily. The reason is the masses we are talking about that goes to the polling unit and cast their votes are controlled by the elite. Elites have leveled definitions. For example, at the community level or at the society level, you know that there are traditional elites, that's the local traditional leader. There are imams or pastors, as the case may be, amongst educational elites maybe. So if these people are convinced to accept a candidate in any locality, there is no way that candidate will not win election. Religion has always been an instrument of winning election in Nigeria's political system, and it shall continue to be so. I don't know whether you get me. The churches and the mosques will continue to be used to influence people to vote for party A, B, C, Mr. A, B, and C. So these are the religious elites. The same thing, what do you call them? The entrepreneurial person or the people that have resources and in their destiny. That's why in the contemporary political space, we call the politics as a political economy. It is the merger or alliance between the politicians and is either entrepreneurs or people that have money. That has been the merger. I am a politician, I will contest. Someone that is economically buoyant will support me with resources. We influence the religious leaders, then I win election. So it's not something that is new. It is not something that is strange, and it's not something that is abnormal in my view, because it's something that is obvious, something that has pure scientific explanation. With regards to the endorsement of Masari Marwa and host of others, you see there has been, in the last couple of weeks, there had been an effort to trigger, the split of the APC so that Asiwaju get weakened. Unfortunately, for those that are trying to, they have better that. They are trying to break away the old block, which was part of the 2000 currently that is their own team led by the former governor of Nigeria, and there has been massive support by the team that they are not cancelled from the APC, and the only SPG is called attendance, and that's all.
Get you talk to us this morning, Bello Adamu. Your audio is fainting, sort of having challenge and difficulties getting your audio at this point. But then let's talk about this whole endorsements coming in from the Katsina State Governor Diko Rada, a representative of the Nigerian State Governors Forum, and also Umar Bago, that's the current, the former governor of Umar Dago, who happens to be Niger State Governor. And we have the former governor of Nasarawa State, Senator Tanko Amakura, and former Katsina State Governor and ex-Speaker Aminu Bello Masari, and the rest of them coming out to give their endorsement. That is coming from the north. And not forgetting that the Voice of Nigeria, former Voice of Nigerian Director General and President of Sita Okechukwu, also Okoy Obolo Obla, and also Waziri Bulama, they are all giving their support for Tinubu. But then the larger percentage of the support and endorsement by the elite is coming from the north. Does this mean that President Tinubu, as in your own assessment, has done magnificently well within the north to also guarantee a re-election of the bid for him to come back even as the president of the All Progressive Congress, or this is just another politics being thrown into the wind?
Thank you for this question. You see, have
in my own, forget about policy costing Nigeria. Policy about
the only thing we look.
For example, now the moment something and areas like then the current welfare of them. I don't want
to say anything, but for the north, much. But for the north, I think
which I think at that time it was over 50% of the population, and then I could reduce from the ongoing now over 90. The red line that Kanu Kaduna, which is taking its route also to Daura and Maradi, also a project.
Okay, so Bello, we're having difficulty getting your audio at this point in time, and we sincerely apologize for that particular break in audio. We're having serious difficulty with getting your audio, but can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
All right. So please, you want to go ahead right now, please?
Yes, I was trying to mention because you asked question as regards his performance. You are with me, right?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Can you hear
I'm
me?
with you.
Okay. So I was trying to make a case, especially in the north. So I was mentioning the projects he inherited from the Buhari-led administration. That's the AKK gas pipeline, the Maradi, Kaduna, Kano railway projects, the Abuja, Kaduna, Kano, road. These were major projects he inherited from the administration of Muhammadu Buhari, and he has continued all the projects. In fact, only recently I realized that the Abuja Kaduna Kano was re-awarded after being revoked from Julius Berger for as a result of poor performance. It was re-inaugurated, and I was seeing from the minister, I think 2 days back, that the project had continued with even certain kilometers completed at the moment. So I think it's what the North considers, and then there has been adduced generally that there is improvement in the security, especially in the north, especially in the banditry regions. I can attest to that living in Kaduna State. I know what we were going through before he came, and I know how it reduced now. We can now fly on Kaduna Abuja roads a bit safely, more than what was obtainable between 2019 to 2023. And then he also awarded a contract of another road that's from Sokoto to Badagry. So I think this is what the northern elites are looking. This is what they are seeing. In terms of the economy, economy is something that you cannot just open your mouth and talk at once, because there are policies that you do today and you see their effect either positively or negatively in the next 20 years. But you begin to see their negative effects immediately. For example, the one regime currency cells, which abolishes a different price for dollar at the CBN and the parallel market, is helping the government because the government is no longer subsidizing dollar for anyone or at any rate. So it's helping the government saves more money also. amongst a host of others, the subsidy regime and what have you. So these are policies the Asiwaju presidency was bold to have taken, which are yielding effort. What I will only suggest, I recommend, especially if he wants the more support of the Northerners, is to invest more in areas of agriculture, especially in area of fertilizer and what have you. If a Northerner will have a relative peace, get fertilizer, have access to it, I don't think a Northerner will have problem with whoever becomes the leader. It is now becoming a better or a new norm that a northern ordinary Nigerian, not elite, will vote for someone that is from the south, which is not a Hausa. The line of division has always been religion, Hausa, and what have you. But I think we are coming up to understand that the Hausas we've been electing have not solved our problem, or the Muslim you elect will not solve your problem, but rather we should go for credible leader who will solve the real problems we are being faced with as a country. So I think it's a good development.
Well, at this point, I want to say thank you so much, Adamu Bello, for joining us all the way from Kaduna, even on Global Morning today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure, please.
All right, so we'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll still talk more on Global Morning today. Please stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Welcome back. Just in case you're just joining us, this is the Global Morning here on Global Television. My name is Godwin Sunday. Well, so when two elephants fight, the grass tends to suffer. In this case, who is the elephant and who is the grass? Well, let's put the elephant as the Labour Party right now, where we have two conflicting interests in the party. Abure, who is, to many, they will say the former Labour Party chairman, has suspended few lawmakers, including the governor of Abia State. But in the tweak of events, Governor of Abia State, Governor Alex Oti, also in turn suspended Abure, and the National Working Committee of the party also have told that part of suspending Abure for 6 months. But then the umpire, which is INEC, that is supposed to be at the forefront of all of this conversation, tend to be mute on one side. Or rather, we still have if we have the Labour Party chairman name still appearing on INEC website. INEC say they are still studying the whole court processes and the Supreme Court decision on the matter. But let's look at this issue and look at it critically. And joining me to talk about this whole Labour Party saga is Barrister Balogun Akintayo, who is a legal practitioner. We'll be taking up this conversation and try to x-ray what is going on in the Labour Party. You're welcome to a Global Morning, Barrister Akintayo Balogun.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, loud and clear, please.
All right.
All right. So let's begin the conversation first. You've seen what's going on in the Labour Party, and you see the tussle between Abure's faction and also Governor Oti faction of the party. Different interpretation of Supreme Court judgments. But how will you react to first the Supreme Court judgment in this light? Has the Supreme Court judgment been able to throw the party into more dividing factions as it stands right now, in your own assessment as a legal practitioner?
Okay. Honestly, to be very honest, the decisions of the Supreme Court has not been very helpful in this whole fight. It's not just to Labour Party, it's also to the People's Democratic Party. You know, the judgment of the Court of Appeal had a direction, you know, saying, okay, in Labour Party, Abure is recognized. In PDP, the other person, not Samuel Anyanwu, was recognized. You know, now, but getting to the Supreme Court, we now have decisions that can be interpreted here or there. And that is why it is taking forever for INEC to give a position. I don't blame INEC, because honestly, they are at a crossroad on the line of interpretation that should be given to the judgment. They are actually at a crossroad. If not, normally it won't take INEC 1 week to say, okay, this is the judgment we have received. We have given, this is our position, this is what we believe the court is saying. But this is, I think, over a month since that judgment was delivered, and it is neither here nor there. Both persons are still claiming legitimacy, you know. But the Supreme Court is still of the position that, see, whatever it is, whatever you are saying, this is the position. The Supreme Court cannot interfere in internal matters of a political party. We cannot say, is this person, neither can we say it is that person. The duty lies with the National Working Committee to determine who is the president, or I'm sorry, who is the national chairman of the party, or the secretary, or whatever position it is. So now everyone has chosen an interpretation that so fits him in this circumstance. This person is saying, no, this is what the Supreme Court said. You know, and so it's like the interpretation given to the judgment is according to whatever anybody says. Now, Abure is saying that, okay, now we are the National Working Committee, and we are saying that it is my government that continues. Meanwhile, Governor Alex Oti, together with Senator Kinkibe and a good number of persons in the political party are saying, we have set up a caretaker committee, and that caretaker committee is recognized as the organization or the National Working Committee of the party, and so we have the right to take decisions for the party. Now, both of them, both elephants, like the word you use now, both of them are laying claim. In fact, they are holding the judgment and saying we are standing on the authority of the judgment of the Supreme Court. So the honest truth is that the decision of the Supreme Court has not really been helpful in settling the crisis within these political parties. And as long as Supreme Court takes this position, we might not have a definite path for either party. So that's actually the challenge now. I can tell you confidently that the Supreme Court, the INEC now, they are at a crossroad. They don't know what to do. They actually, should I use the word, they're actually confused as to the right step to take, because the judgment is just neither here nor there. You cannot push it to this side, you cannot push it to that side. As I speak to you, for example, now PDP matter, there is still this issue that is still at the Federal High Court as we speak, because the judgment of the Supreme Court did not lay issues to rest. So as I speak now, there are issues that are still at the Federal High Court that is still on this issue of the proper person to take decisions as the secretary of the party. And that is the same problem that the Labour Party is still facing as we speak. So, but hopefully, if INEC is able to come up with something within the next couple of days, probably we would have a line of direction to toe. Like you said earlier, INEC's position is this. What is on our website is based on the judgment of the Court of Appeal. They are still standing on the judgment of the Court of Appeal. So until they now take a position and say, okay, this is what we have taken, or this is the position we have taken as based on the judgment of the Supreme Court, what is on their website still remains. Personally, I was concerned that why is INEC still having so names on their website? Why haven't they taken a position? But then when you look at the judgment, you are just confused as to the right step to take. So it's taking them forever to make a decision, because the decision of the Supreme Court is neither here nor there.
Barrister Akintayo Balogun, let's look at this matter again, because coming from the legal perspective, one would expect that Abure, being a barrister, would better understand the interpretation of this judgment. But that's on one side. Why I say that is because, to a very large extent, it tends to be that a lot of party faithfuls are on the side of the other side of the divide as against the Abure faction. That's what it tends to be. I might not be correct with that assertion, but on the eyes of the public or the media, that's what we are saying. But then let's move away from that conversation and look at the conversation that centers around Governor Oti being suspended by Abure faction. Lawmakers from the House of Representatives being suspended. This has led to 2 lawmakers leaving the party to join the People's Democratic Party in Enugu State. Now, more party members and more lawmakers within the ranks and files of the Labour Party are looking elsewhere because of this disunity in the party. Governor Oti has urged the Nigerian Inspector General of Police to carry out an arrest on Abure for impersonation. On the second hand, on the other side of the divide, Governor Abure, who happens to be the chairman of the Labour Party, has also suspended all of this. So it's a suspension coming from 2 sides. The National Working Committee has suspended Abure and his team for 6 months. The Abure in turn have suspended lawmakers for God knows when. Looking at all of this divide, which should the party follow for party members and party lovers of the Labour Party?
Okay, honestly, to be very frank with you, it's a tough time for the party. It's a very, very tough time for the party. If somebody at this point now, let's say a serving senator or a serving legislator, either of the House of Rep or State House of Assembly, at this juncture, if they decide to decamp to another political party, they are 100% justified, because this is just what the Constitution says about a person that decamps to another political party. They are 100% justified, because as we speak, there are divisions. There are persons laying claim from one side, another claim from another side. The division is everywhere. So this is like the kind of situation that was foreseen by the Constitution when the constitution gave grounds for persons who want to decamp to decamp. This is just a typical situation. So I can tell you that it's really it's an unfortunate situation where we are having suspensions here and there. The truth is that the suspensions is not just the way forward. It's not the way forward. It's for everybody to come down to a round table as a political party and everybody be ready to make compromises. Because if the situation continues like this, I can assure you that Labour Party might not even win a councillorship seat in the next election if we continue with this trend, where suspensions here and there, a party is suspending a whole governor, a senator, and all that. It's for me, it's looking ridiculous. And then now another faction is suspending a national chairman and all that. It's like dragging the party deeper into the mud. It's already in the mud, but now it's like trying to suffocate it and push mud into its mouth. That's the situation the party is right now. And the truth is, if something is not done within the next few months, then this looks like the end of the Labour Party. Suspending key members of the party is like dragging a party that is already in the mud and dragging it beneath the mud to suffocate it. So now you said something earlier. Abure being a lawyer should know the position of the law and all that. Now I can tell you that if this matter goes back to court and we want an interpretation of the judgment of the Supreme Court, I can assure you that there will be lawyers on both parts of the divide, not just lawyers, but very senior advocates on both sides of the divide making different arguments. So it's not just a function of Abure being a lawyer. I can tell you that very senior Leonard Silk will go to the court and have different arguments on different positions and say, no, this is the position of the law. No, this is what the National Working Committee has said. No, different divides, such that you are now giving serious work to the Supreme Court justices to interpret their judgment again. So for me, it's not a function of he being a lawyer. It's just that if we go to court, everybody will make their own different arguments. But then I can say that the trend is a terrible one for the party. All this suspension will not help anyone. It will not. It will only just show that it will only just make the loophole bigger. And then you are now giving room to the one-party system that we're already crying about. We're already saying that gradually Nigeria is becoming a one-party system, a one-party state, where everybody is flocking into one party. Instead of the other parties to see how to put their house in order and be a formidable opposition, the cracks in their walls are getting bigger, and they are really tearing themselves apart. It's actually unfortunate, but I can say that the issue of suspension would not help anybody. It's not helping the party, it's not helping the membership, it's not helping the big wigs, it's not helping the small wigs. They have to do something about it.
Barrister Akintayo, at this point, are you saying, or should we be made to believe at this point that Labour Party does not have leadership as it stands right now, because we don't know which side of the divide, since all leaders of the party, almost all leaders of the party, stand suspended by different fractions? What is the direction of the Labour Party? And right now, when it has to do with the soul of the party, because leadership is the soul of every political party, looking at Labour Party right now, can we say that Labour Party does not have a soul?
Honestly, as we speak now, Labour Party does not have a soul. In fact, they don't have a body. The situation is that bad, really. They practically don't have anything as it is now. And I think the only solution presently is to have a statement from INEC. If INEC to a large extent will be the solution to the problem of Labour Party, whatever INEC comes up with will be the direction they will be forced to follow. If the INEC says, okay, the National Working Committee is what we will work with, we are recognizing Abure, then all the big wigs that have been suspended, of course, they stand suspended. Now, if the INEC says no, the National Working Committee or Caretaker Committee as set up by Governor Oti and Kinkibe and others, stands as the eye or the National Working Caretaker Committee of the party. Once that is recognized, then of course the suspension of Abure stands. And I can also say at that point that there would not be any dragging again, because if you take the issue back to court, court will say no, this is an internal affair. I cannot intervene. I cannot be involved in this. So as it stands now, let me say that INEC is the body that we're looking at to give a legal opinion on this judgment of the Supreme Court. Once they give their legal opinion and say, okay, this is the party, this is the body that is recognized, then everybody will be forced to work with it. But until then, anybody can give any position. They can even go back to court and say court should give an interpretation. I can assure you that the court again will still slide away and might not say anything definite. So I think the ball as it stands now lies in the court of INEC. INEC would be the body to help to determine who would be recognized. So let me say we are looking up to INEC. We are looking forward to whatever INEC comes up with to determine the leadership of the political party.
Akintayo, let's even look at this whole matter from another light. By around April 9th, we saw stakeholders and NEC of the party. They assembled at Transcorp Hilton Hotel here in the Federal Capital Territory. At least I was part of that meeting. I went for coverage on that particular meeting. That's on April the 9th. And some decisions were taken. And one of the decisions taken was that Abure ceased to be the member, ceased to be the chairman of the party. And Manis Usman, senator, will emerge as the chairman of the caretaker committee and by extension the chairman of the party. And we saw all of those resolutions that was taken by stakeholders of the party, including all the senators and also members of the House of Representatives, all assembled in that building. But after that meeting, we saw Abure come out to kick against that particular decision. I think a day after, Abure came out to kick against that decision. Now, by the interpretation of the Supreme Court judgment, it's very clear that it's an internal party affair. And the party have reached a conclusion. They've resolved that Abure should step down for misappropriation of fund as a result of what transpired in the last election and subsequent elections. That there's a lot of embezzlement and misappropriation of funds, which they have documents to support their claims with. Now, having gone around all of this conversation, Abure has come out and said that no, you don't have the power to suspend me. But these are party stakeholders that suspended Abure. And Abure has said, no, you don't have the power to suspend me. I should be the one to moderate that section or call for stakeholders meeting. So any meeting that is being called by stakeholders is void ab initio, because I should be the one to make that call of stakeholders or NEC meeting. Now, looking at all of this and try to marry them up together, there is a speculation that Abure, by a lot of Labour Party members, that Abure has been sent by the ruling All Progressive Congress. Allegation, though, has been sent by the ruling All Progressive Congress to come ruin the life of the Labour Party. But in your own assessment, going by what the stakeholders have decided and Abure's position and the various allegations and speculations that Abure is a stooge for the ruling All Progressive Congress. Try to marry all this up together. What do you think about the position of Abure, the NEC meeting, and the stooge position?
Okay, saying that Abure is working for the All Progressives, being a bad egg amongst, I would want to disagree with that position. If that cannot be the position, particularly the role that he played in the elections, the general elections up to 2023. We know how well he stood by the party and how well he was everywhere for Labour Party. So I would not agree with that position that he's being used. I would instead say that this is a fight for power. Having been the chairman that oversaw the elections in 2023, I don't need anyone to tell me that he made so much money, officially and unofficially. We know we're in the system and we know what plays out, during elections like this. Not even the official monies that come to them. The unofficial that also comes to them, someone who wants a ticket, someone who is inviting him to be part of the campaign, and all that. Before you know what, monies are flowing in from left, right, and center. So it is not about being maybe a spy or someone who has been sent to destroy the party. I see him as someone who has seen power and how sweet power is, and is refusing, like a typical African leader, he's refusing to step down from power because he still desires to take as much as he can. Once he steps down as the chairman, he becomes irrelevant. No one will come to knock at his door again. No one will invite him to a campaign. No one will come and lobby him. So power is sweet. It's the typical African attitude, typical African mentality. Once somebody is in office, they don't want to go out again. They want to remain there perpetually, because of all that comes with the office. So for me, if you would ask me, that's what I'm going to say about Abure. It's just a typical African leader that loves power and would not want to walk away from it. With regards to the meeting that I held on April 9th, now that is also one of the things that we expect that INEC would consider. Who is the National Working Committee of a party? Who are the people that make up the National Working Committee of a party? Now, the constitution of most parties would say that, of course, the president of a nation forms part of the National Working Committee. The vice president, that is, if they are the ones in office, serving members of of the political party, governors, and all those persons are usually part of a National Working Committee. And then now these persons met at Transcorp and they took a decision. The question we would need to ask is, who called that meeting? Who called that meeting? Because if this matter goes to court, I can be so sure to say that is going to be one of the issues that needs to be determined. Who gave the right, or who called for that meeting? If the meeting was properly called for and there and assembled at the meeting were members of the National Working Committee, then the decision of April 9 stands as the decision of the party. If that decision says anybody stands suspended, then that is the position. But now we see Abure coming afterwards and saying, no, it's not supposed to be. I didn't call for that meeting. That meeting was improper. That meeting was not properly called, and all that. And, say a couple of things. So we can have a situation. For me, if you would ask me, I would have loved to know who called for that meeting. Was the meeting properly called? And now that let's say it is properly called, who were the persons that made up the National Working Committee? Are they the persons as contained in the constitution of the party? Were there serving senators? Were there serving reps? Were there serving governors at the meeting? Were there certain persons, board of trustees, were they at that meeting? If they were there, then the decision that was made stands as the position of the party. Any other statement, any other thing being said by anyone goes to nothing. So my concern for that meeting is, who called for the meeting? What is the position of the constitution of Labour Party when a National Working Committee meeting is to be called? I don't know if you get the position I'm making here. This now comes down to the constitution of the party. What does the constitution of the party say about calling a National Working Committee meeting like that was called on April 9th? Can anyone just stand up and say, okay, as a member of the committee, I can call for the meeting? Having called for the meeting, the decision, and then, like you said, you were in that meeting and you saw the caliber of persons in the meeting. By the constitution of the party, are those persons meant to be in the meeting, which I believe they should be? Because by the popular constitution of political parties, serving political members like governors, senators, and all that are usually people that form the national working committee of a party. Now, having made a decision, that decision ordinarily should be binding on the party. So, in my opinion, the decision of April 9th should stand. And that is what INEC should recognize and should work with. The power now lies in the party to determine what it wants, and no longer a decision of any court. Of course, as it stands, the decision of the Court of Appeal that recognized Aburi stands annulled. It's been set aside. What the court now said is that it is what the party decides. The National Working Committee on the 9th have taken a decision. And for me, that position should stand as a position of the party. Whatever Abure has said afterwards goes to no issue. But INEC now should do their part, should do their bits in helping to stabilize the quality by making a statement and say, okay, the National Working Committee met on the 9th, and this is their position. And that remains the position as well.
All right, Barrister Akintayo Balogun, just before I let you go, on the final take, the suspension of these various individuals by different factions, does it stand? Does it hold water, even from your very own assessment? Do they stand suspended, and as such should be asked not to carry out their various functions of responsibility or being arrested by the Nigerian police as been proposed by the old governor Alex Oti, who have said Abure should be arrested for impersonation? The suspension and all of this, does it have any ground within the law to stand?
Okay, for me, it doesn't even lie in the mouth of Governor Oti to take this position. For me, if you would ask me, the caretaker chairman who has been appointed should be the one that should be at the forefront of this drive, and not push Governor Oti, to the work front. If you'd ask me, the caretaker committee, that's Nenadi Usman, should be at the forefront of this fight. She should be the one now standing up to say, okay, we are the committee that have been set up to run the affairs of this party. And anyone that is still parading his or herself should be arrested. So for me, the call for his arrest is actually in order. If the National Working Committee have said we have taken a decision, the truth is that if Abure knows that a meeting is for his suspension, he would not call the meeting. He would not call for that meeting. So if the National Working Committee or if the meeting held and it has the National Working Committee members there, then that meeting, whatever decision has been made in that meeting, stands as the position of the party. So for me, the call for his arrest, being someone impersonating himself, is not out of place. But then, you should not leave that duty to a governor. Let the governor face the governance of the state. The person who has been appointed as the caretaker committee, caretaker chairman, should stand up to her position and ensure that an end is brought to this factionalization and division in the political party. Let everybody take their position. If it is to call for an arrest, let it be done. If it is to go to court, well, I wouldn't advise going to court again, because the Supreme Court has taken a position. But then, a firm decision needs to be taken by this caretaker chairman. A very firm decision needs to be taken, so that once that is taken, all this back and forth will come to an end. And I would still strongly advise that the Labour Party should call the attention of INEC. This is taking forever. This judgment was delivered, I think, early April. And by now, this is already a month after. It doesn't take forever for INEC to take a position. Once INEC takes a position, I can assure you that all this will come to an end. Even if they take the matter back to court, it's a position that the Supreme Court has taken, and any decision that is made by any other court should follow what the Supreme Court has said.
Well,
so that's my own.
Yeah, Barrister Akintayo, we will also keep our fingers crossed that INEC, believe that INEC is still studying that particular judgment, even as it stands. But I want to say thank you so much for being a part of the show this morning.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, this is how far we can go this morning here on Global Morning. We know it has been the 3 hours has been occupying and been very rewarding because we've tried as much as we can, just like we do every other day, to bring you perspectives and also bring you the right issues and the right persons to look into these issues this morning, even every other day. But at this point, I want to say thank you. Do remember that you can join the various conversation on our various social media handle now showing on your screen using at Global TV NG. You can download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcasts. On behalf of myself and my colleague and the entire crew, Global Morning crew, I want to say thank you so much for staying with us even till this time. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. From all of us here in the studio, it's bye for now.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring you policies too, for sure. Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle with ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.